approval of minutes of Monday, May 11th meeting.
Living Bill, move we adopt as presented.
Second. Motion been made and seconded to approve minutes as circulated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Okay, let's see, Public Health Officer. He's not here. Public Health Nurse. What do you got?
What are we doing, old business?
What's that?
Old business?
Yep. Isn't old business the new business?
Anything? Yeah. Well, we haven't had a regular Board of Health meeting. Most of them have been, kind of emergency ones, but, we should run through the statistics. The flu, we had 11,246 cases so far, 488 hospitalizations, 17 deaths, and we had 31 new cases last week, which was kind of scary for this late in the year. Broadwater County is still at 84. For COVID, we're at 467 confirmed cases, 431 recovered, 3 in the hospital, 16 deaths. There's still 20 active cases. And there's 26,091 tested. And the reason that there's so many is because the governor ordered what he calls sentinel testing. This is a project that Montana's doing, and they're going to do 60,000 tests starting in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. And so they're just having people go around the state and just do swabs on people to see, if there's people out there that have it that we don't know about. They're going to start with the long-term care and assisted living facilities and then healthcare workers, and going to go through a lot of the tribal institutions. They're going to focus kind of on tribal in Tier 3, and then they're going to move on to correctional facilities and detention facilities after that. So they're going to try to do 60,000 COVID tests and see how many come up positive. It'll be really interesting, I think, when the whole thing is said and done. That's why, because before we had, I don't remember how many we had tested, but it was, obviously a way lower number, but they've already started the project. So, anyway, it'd be really interesting to find that out.
And those tests are just showing that the people have it, not whether they had it in the past, right?
Right, just whether they currently have it. Yeah, it's not an antibody test or anything.
Sure. So because of that, we're probably going to see a spike in positive
Mm-hmm.
case numbers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just to see what's going on out there.
Just because testing's being done, there's more testing getting done.
Yeah. Yep. So, there's some new information out on that too, that some people are testing positive, and they think it's related to the flu vaccine. So we'll see where that goes. There's just, new information every single day. It is even hard to keep up with just because the CDC just keeps doing all this research and all this testing and just new stuff coming out every day. And then I'm sure you've all heard about the syndrome that the children are getting, which is really, really scary. We didn't need to have that, but so that's the stuff that I usually report on, and we kind of talked about the budget and the grants that I've been applying for, so I think we're gonna be okay there once that gets, all said and done. And so Sean and I have been talking, a little get together this morning, and we're getting calls, about events and, weddings and, all kinds of stuff like that. So, we need to come up with a plan on how we're gonna deal with that. And then the campgrounds. So I need to get educated on that. I tried to get a hold of the BOR this morning and I couldn't. But my understanding was that that we had the silos that we had control of, but, like Duck Creek and all those, some people are calling saying that they're closed, and I know they're not closed because I was out there this weekend, but, what we're going to do about it, because it sounds like we kind of need to have a plan. And I was to the understanding that we didn't, that if it was owned by, the Bureau of Reclamation or BLM or Fish and Game or whatever, that they took precedence over whatever we did. But that's not true. So we have to do something about that. So I'll let Sean talk.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you, Teresa. I went out to the roping event on Saturday, and they did a great job of posting signs. They had all the facilities that I requested or put into the plan. I feel like they had a perfect day to be able to be outside and keep everything far apart. So I was there for about an hour, and I feel like they did a good job on completing that. The other thing that, I was expecting, and it was true, is that horses don't like to be by other horses very much. And so they just kind of social distance each other, in terms of the 6 foot thing. So with that event happening, we are getting lots of calls about events. And Eric is here from the mansion to talk about the wedding venues that he has coming up. And I think it's important that we give him a chance to speak, I guess, regarding that. I don't know if you want me to go through all my stuff, or if we can just get Eric kind of.
Go ahead and go through your stuff.
Okay. So that'll be something that we'll want to kind of talk about, is those venues. I also visited the silos on Saturday because Sharon had called me and said, hey, we're getting just people coming here, and they're just like, they're desperate for somewhere to stay. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to be in the neighborhood. I wanted to see how, because I knew they were full, I wanted to see how the plan that we had put in place was doing. And so when I got there, the Craig, who is the camp host, is doing a fantastic job of telling people, you're too close, you need to move, you can't put your campers right next to each other. He's doing a good job of facilitating that plan as well. The other thing that he had done, which was a mistake on his part in the favor of Sharon and the county, I guess, is that we had closed the double campsites for double use. So they were supposed to be, they're allowed for single use, just not double. And he had closed a bunch of those. So there's 4 to 6 campsites that were open yesterday that had been closed because we had allowed that. They just couldn't be used for double occupancy. There were also a couple campsites that I will recommend that we open that I had closed based on seeing how campers park and how much space there is. It's hard for me, it was empty the day I was there. I had no idea. So I was really shooting from the hip, like that one's got to go, that one's got to go. Now there's campers in there. So there's at least 2 sites that I'll recommend that can be opened based on that. So So there's that issue of I think we can open a couple more sites. And then there's the issue of, are we going to allow her to have overflow like she does on, I guess, the walleye tournament and the 4th of July? And what I had told her is I said, think about how you want to do that and mark those locations and I can come out and we could add some sites. And she was thinking, I think 8 to 10 more sites out there. So I don't know if that's a Board of Health question or who decides whether she can use overflow. I guess I don't know that answer, but I definitely am not the one that can make that decision. So I told her, she had to at least bring that forward. So.
And in the past, that question has gone to VOR, and they've been pretty accommodating because of those 2 weekends, mostly walleye, because it actually overflows into 4th of July, depending on where 4th of July fits in the week.
Mm-hmm.
But what VOR has done is, at this point, all those other campgrounds are closed.
Right.
Which means that you've got the same, well, you've probably got half the campers, but you've now got 1 or 2 campgrounds for them to go into because they're totally closed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's getting a lot of irate people at the silos because of this. If silos would open up, then we would spread people out. Silos, if VOR would open up their campgrounds, we'd spread people out. As it is right now, they're funneling everybody into one.
Mm-hmm.
So whose question is it? It's ours this year because we're the only campground that's open and we have all that overflow coming into the silos. So I would be in support of your working with her over marked spaces. But it's not really, it's probably going to continue to be an issue till VOR decides they're going to open. Now, it's something they've been talking about. We keep getting, expected dates of reopening, and then that date comes and goes, and we're looking for next week. So, I don't know. I just can't imagine where is a better place for people to socially distance right now. Is it in their house, or is it outside? And if you look at the benefits of the sun, let's get people outside as much as we can. I'm quite frustrated that those other campgrounds aren't open. So I'm just putting it out there on the table.
There's people there, so we went out to Duck Creek and Confederate, and there's lots of people camping, so they are not, and there's really no signage up or anything, so, I wasn't sure if they opened it up or, or what they did, but people are camping, so
And
whether
we have
it's
no
legal or not
authority
legal.
over those. Those are free-for-all campgrounds by VOR. So it really is on them. But as far as the organized campgrounds, those are the ones that are closed. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. It is really 2 different monsters with dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to just speak to them and, see what, what we're responsible for and what they're responsible for, because, Duck Creek has no facilities at all. It's just, you go and find a spot and, whatever. So, do we need to put signage up? Do they need to put signage up? I don't really know at this point, and a lot of people are calling about it. Specifically the ones that are, on the east side of the lake.
Did you go to Confederate, Teresa?
Yeah.
Is there any signage at Confederate?
No, the only sign that was out at Confederate was, there was a little sign on the bathroom, and I didn't run over and check to see if it was open. But there was just a little sign on the bathroom, and I couldn't read it, so. But a gentleman called this morning and said that, Hellgate was closed, and they have a big sign on the road, on the highway, that says Hellgate is closed. So, then I think, beyond that, I don't think the rest of them are in our county, are they?
Mm-mm.
No,
Just,
Elgate would be the last one.
Goose Bay and Confederate and Duck Creek.
Yeah,
So we need to get together with them and just find out, none of the people that were there were from our county. They were all, out of county license plates, which they usually are. I mean, there's a few people that camp out there that are from Broadwater, but, with Memorial Day coming up, I know there's several groups, large groups that go out, over Memorial Day. And I mean, we're talking large, we're talking 10 campers and boats and, they're all in a big circle and, lots of, probably 4 or 5 people per family. So there, is no way that you can social distance, that. So I just don't know what to do. I'd hoped to get a hold of them before I came today, but I did not, so.
well, I think if you could get a hold of them and we could get a hold of them and each tell our story from our perspective.
Yeah.
We
just
be
need
the
to know
greasy
what
wheel
to do.
or the
Yeah.
squeaky wheel. Yeah,
Because when I talked to Brandon about the dunes, he said, well, BOR owns that, so you shouldn't have to do anything about that. But,
but it seems to me that the unorganized free-for-all campgrounds, you could justify those being closed, because there's no way to have any kind of a plan, because there's no camp house, there's no one in the bathrooms, if there are bathrooms. The organized campgrounds that have the hosts, like Court Sheriff, like, so many of those, open them up, give people a place to go. So it seems to me that we're doing exactly the opposite of what we should. Goose Bay should be open.
Yeah.
Because they're organized places with owners and campground hosts there. Am I off base?
and they can just, kind of, follow what Lewis and Clark is doing, 20 feet between campers and small family groups, 6 to 10 people. It's gonna be half of the capacity for sure, but, just some kind of guidance, because Memorial Day, honestly, we've been out there where our camper's this far from the other guy's camper, depending on where you are. So.
So to Sean's question, can we go ahead and authorize the overflow for the silos because of what's going on? And under a plan, under spacing, under is okay? I say yes.
Well, I would think we should be, because at least that's the one that we have a little bit of control over.
Right.
I don't think you're not gonna control the east side of the lake. You go down there and try to shut that campground, somebody's gonna end up dead.
Yeah,
'Cause you're gonna, there'll be 50 campers down there.
there will be. Mhm.
And I don't know, I think what the BOR is doing is saying, well, it's not a recognized campground, so we're not gonna do anything with it.
Yeah, that's probably what they're doing.
Confederate is probably recognized, but it doesn't seem to me they're doing anything with Confederate either.
No, they aren't. And only, Confederate's only one, well, besides Goose Bay, but, that has a restroom, and nobody's cleaning that, so.
So these campsites that we want, that we talk about reopening, or allow them to be open, the silos, they would be for people that have their own, facilities in their campers, right?
Well, right now they would go behind where the camp host is, and there is a pit pretty right there. Where the camp host is, right in front of the camp host is just kind of behind there. So that pit pretty would still be,
Is that pretty open though? I thought they were all closed except for the one at the boat launch.
no, we opened any of them that had hand sanitizers at them. That was the, and they're washed and cleaned twice a day and then sanitized every 2 hours.
Do we have any kind of a sign, or are we going beyond we can do if we just posted some kind of a sign down there on Duck Creek? Just practice COVID awareness or something, or?
At this point, in my opinion, what we should do is what we have to do, to the extent that we can to keep people safe, and then send DOR an email that says this is what we've done. With Duck Creek, with Confederate and the silos.
And I would think that they would have some kind of signage made up, that, I don't know that, if it's not a metal sign, it's not gonna hold up, and I don't know why we should really foot the bill, and if we can even get them made by Memorial Day, so. But I just don't, I don't know where the legal issues, go with that, whether, if we just have the distancing and all the, just the basic stuff, I think is really all we would have to have, because when you go out there, you go out at your own risk anyway, so. I'm just not sure.
So I'm not sure I understand. Let me just make sure I do. Right now, the campgrounds are closed, but there's boat launches, and is that why people have access to these facilities? Or are they just such a free-for-all kind of campground that people can just get to them even, there's no gate to them?
No, it's a free-for-all. You just go park wherever you want to go.
So VR, yeah, they're taking on more responsibility and liability in my mind by not doing anything, because then they're also not patrolling or policing that use. Boy, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but that sounds like they need to be put on notice about that to some extent, so.
Because you aren't gonna, even though it says, that they're closed, obviously they're going, and they have been, because we've been out there. Well, I shouldn't say we, my husband drives out there, and, there's campers out there all the time, so, they aren't gonna stop them unless there's no way to gate off, I don't think, at least Duck Creek anyway.
So the Goose Bay is closed. That one does have a gate.
Mhm.
So we're only talking about the okay. Well, you all must have a contact that you deal with on a regular basis. Is that, do you think, the same person that we need to reach out to?
The Dans. Yeah, I'll get you their emails, Dan Strumpa and Dan Gallagher.
Okay, I see the Dans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, everything they do has to go through Billings, which has to go through Denver, which has to go through probably Chicago, which has to go through, wherever else before it gets to DC. And then it has to bounce all the way back.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's not their fault. The Dans have been really wonderful to work with, and their hands are tied in a lot of ways, but we have some things we need to deal with. And that's what I'm saying. I think we should do what we think we have to do, and then let them know for the time being, and then, let them tell us if they have a better plan, or when they have a
dialogue. I mean, because if anything, we have 4th of July coming right down there.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they won't be open by then. I can't imagine they won't have things more open by Memorial
Yeah, well,
Day,
that's,
but they also have to have a plan for those free-for-all campgrounds, I would think.
There'll be 50 campers out at Duck Creek at least on Memorial Weekend. I guarantee it,
It's free.
even though it's closed.
Yeah.
What else you got, Sean?
did you guys want to vote on whether I'm gonna do something at Silos, or is that just something you concur on, or?
I will put it in a motion so that you have that solidly. I will move that we authorize Sean to work with Sharon to, do as they see fit to open up overflow that is appropriate with social distancing.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I guess I want to clarify how many spots are we talking about?
She had said, I believe 8 to 10, but there may have been 2 spots, so it could be up to 16. So the spot that's behind the host, and then the next campground over, there's also a bunch of where they've done overflow. I don't know all the, she calls them certain things that don't jive with how I know the campground, but yeah, so you could limit that if you wanted to, or
No, I guess we'll leave it up to you. I just want to make sure that there's enough space to do.
Yeah,
What
definitely.
we'll talk about here.
Motion been made and second to have Sean work with Sharon to, set up an overflow program at Silos. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor? Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
So one of the other issues that we've been, and I sent you emails about last week, is the restaurant and bar casino folks have reached out to me with their concerns about the wearing masks, face masks, for the people that are working with the public. And I told them that I would bring that to the Board of Health because it's not my decision. And I just wanted to let you know that they have voiced concerns, and I forwarded those emails to you. I don't know that I think everyone that has voiced concerns has emailed me. And I think someone maybe online, I'm not sure. But there were some folks that were planning on trying to watch today, but that may have gotten a little amiss. So I guess, my thought is I professionally feel like we're doing the right thing with the masks. I don't think we should change that. I don't like wearing my mask either, but I feel like it's in the public's best interest. So that's my 2 cents on that. But that's something you guys can decide if you want to take it up or not at this point.
I have heard from a few people, not a lot, off the top of my head, probably 4 or 6, not a lot, but they have said that they're going to target where they do their grocery shopping based on the staff in the grocery store wearing masks. So, there are people that care about that part of it.
I've heard some of the comments, people that look like want to go out and have dinner. If the staff is wearing masks, they would feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So I guess it was a decision that we made early on, and you could stick with it.
This is a gorgeous mask that was made by a wonderful, wonderful woman. Thank you very much. It's Harry Potter. But it is uncomfortable and it is hard to wear. But I also have one that has a little bit of elastic, and it's more of a bandana like a 1880 stagecoach robber, only it's tie-dyed. But it's incredibly comfortable. I can't find it. It's incredibly comfortable. It's easy to use. It's easy to wear. It's just, it doesn't hang on your ears. It just goes around. I think some of our restaurant owners, if they got creative in finding some of those cool masks out there, maybe not the kind that hang on the ears, I think you can make this work. I don't think I know it's a hassle. I know it's difficult. But I think there are creative options.
I just keep hearing the same thing. It's like, well, Lewis and Clark doesn't have to, so why do we? Well, we're not Lewis and Clark. And, we made that decision, and I just feel like truly, if we're going by the guidance and you cannot serve a plate of food and have 6-foot social distancing, that would be like me trying to set Daryl's plate, from here. And so it's it's not possible. And I guess, I just think of, you know, if you have 4 people at your booth, then you've got your server reaching over somebody to set their plate down while they're breathing all over. And I think that one gentleman is just more hung up on the fact that it's Lewis and Clark isn't doing it, so why is Broadwater? Instead of just, you know, saying, okay, we have to do this if we want to stay open. I don't know. And there's only a few. There is people that will tell me if the servers aren't wearing a mask, they won't go in. And a lot of people still aren't going to those kind of places at all. They're still going to drive-through. So, even in Helena, their places are open and they're empty. People are just going through the drive-throughs. So. I don't know. I don't think we should back down on it just yet. I think that we need to see what phase 2 brings and you know, like Sean and I were talking this morning, it could just as easily go backwards as forward. And so if we move forward, then we know we've done everything we could do to make it go forward. And same thing, if, you know, if it goes backward, we still did what we, you know, what we thought was right to do, so.
So I have 2 other things. We had received a complaint about Bob's Market again last week, and so I went and met with them, and they, did you get there today? Did you?
No, I haven't been there, but I'm going there right
So
after this.
they were very good to work with. They indicated that they would put lines on the floor and that they'd get some plexiglass in front of the cash register. So I felt like Teresa had been trying through education and that, and I just went in. It was, you know, I guess I got lucky. So
Yeah.
it sounds like, so that was I think that was a good solution. I think they're on their way for that. The last issue I had was Sean from Silos wanted me to just kind of throw out there the walleye tournament, which is June 26th, which we know there's going to be, most likely, if we are in phase 2, it will be by June 26th. I mean, I would think, right? I mean, no one has that crystal ball, but so he's, you know, just kind of throwing it out there because he needs to kind of start making some decisions on that. The one issue at hand, I guess, is that, you know, that tournament, I guess afterwards, they always have a big get together at Silos, I guess in the back there or something. And there's up to 350 people there, and that wouldn't even pass through phase 2. I'm not sure he kind of caught me right before the meeting. I think it's something that we're gonna have to really give some thought towards. But also, I mean, that is the kind of thing where you're gonna have people coming from all over.
So what are they gonna do with the 14-day quarantine thing?
Well, I mean, obviously that's gonna be something that people will have to adhere to, unless that changes for the phase 2, which I don't know if that changes for phase 2 or not. That's not discussed in how things. There's no discussion of how the quarantine portion would be changed during any of the phasing parts. I mean, I think we can assume phase 3 is kind of business as usual, but we don't know about phase.
When are we going to phase 2? We don't know yet. What happened to 1.5?
Yeah, that's what we thought we were going to get a
They
1.5.
talk about it every week and nothing ever gets done about it, but, I don't know if it was just somebody's idea. But we haven't gotten any guidance that says, 1.5 anyway.
anyway, that's just something that we have coming down, June 26th, and then it's followed up by the 4th of July,
Right.
of course, basically the next weekend, so.
But yeah, anything over 50 people is considered an assembly, and that is, absolutely a no-no. So, at this point, we couldn't make a decision because there's no way that it's going to happen.
It was just to kind of throw it out there. We've got, some time, and there's lots of things that can change between now and then, but yeah.
I mean, I can understand it's hard to plan a wedding and, all that stuff anyway, let alone, you don't know if you're gonna still be in phase 1 or phase 2. And so, if we plan a wedding for somebody in phase 1 and then everything changes, then we gotta go through that work again, and, we don't have the time to do things twice. We barely have time to do things once. So, but Sean did a great job, putting together the thing last weekend. So I think, if we can just use that kind of as a template and just, kind of tweak it, and, outdoor activities are going to be way easier to plan than indoor activities by a long shot. And hopefully it'll get nice out and we'll have that luxury of planning outdoor stuff for people.
I think that's all I have until I remember what I forgot. It's been a crazy day for us up in our office today too. Yeah. So business as usual continues for somehow.
Yeah. So Sean, do you have questions on, I guess I'm just, I'm starting to get quite a list of people that want calls back from our rodeos, weddings, stuff like that. I guess I'm just not sure, a lot of them aren't until June. And like I said, I don't really know what to tell them. I'd like to say, well, here's a plan that worked really well, but that may not even, it may not even be applicable in 2 weeks, and if anything, if we go to phase 2, it'll be actually easier, but.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say with the sentinel testing, if we start finding that we have a lot more positives out there than we think we do, I'm praying that we don't, but, that could definitely change things.
I think if we can make a plan for some of these activities, if they fit the bill for being able to make a plan, if we do it for phase 1, that's going to be very conservative for phase 2. And worst case scenarios, they have to adhere to the phase 1 plan if we don't have time or it's too complicated to try to figure out phase 2. I mean, I think that's only fair, but I've been working on another plan for the Rod and Gun Club activity that came here for the hearing last week. And, the first plan took probably 9 hours, all said and done, to deal with. This one took an hour and a half. So, that's, or maybe even less than that. So an hour and 15 minutes. So, the format's there and the understanding is of in what so I think that they'll be easier to do. It depends on the activity, of course. But I think if activities, if we can do activities outside, I think that's kind of the leverage that Corey gave us about when we can do plans. And I think you know, I'm kind of, I'm saying this because Eric's here. I think when we talk about weddings and wedding venues, there may be some leniency if it's an outdoor activity, but we definitely will need Corey to weigh in on that because there's some very, the guidance very specifically says no receptions, but it doesn't necessarily contemplate, or we don't know if it contemplated an outdoor reception, you know, which could be part of a plan to help facilitate that social distancing. So, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of, so Eric did come into the office. He's been really good to have some dialogue. You know, that's what this takes, is neither of us know the answer or have the answer, but definitely have some dialogue today about trying to come up with some solutions. And that is definitely one of maybe an option is to really push for outdoor activities, but that's where we need to kind of start a conversation about the why Eric's here. So,
What would be our first step, do you think? Putting together a skeleton of a plan, tweaking it, bringing in the enforcement piece, and seeing if they approve it, in this case Corey?
yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. Give a skeleton plan of how Eric could manage a reception that is outdoors. And what happens if it's, you know, the weather changes, because it might do that every once in a while here. You know, we talked about that too. You know, do we need to have a tent available? Those are the kind of things. You know, the sooner he knows, the sooner he'll be able to do that, or have the brides, is, you know, make those kind of things available. There may have to be a limit. You know, we may have to have some sort of limit. I don't know. That's all part of this kind of dialogue that we have to have back and forth. And obviously, the sooner June 5th is the first larger wedding that's happening. So, you know, if you want to let me have the ability to, or tell me to have, you know, Teresa and I mean, everything, I try to get Teresa involved with everything as well. It's great to have that, but, you know, if we can work together to get a skeleton plan, get it to Corey, I mean, obviously to you all, everything goes to everyone here. But very specifically, Corey, are we out of the legal reality of this? And if he pushes and says, you can't do this because of this and this, then we know. But Corey says, yes, you can move forward, then we finalize and sharpen our pencil on that plan.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, people need answers. And it's kind of the structure we've already followed with all these with the other 3 events that have come to us. So yeah, I would request that you do exactly that.
Because from our point of view, there's no reason we couldn't do what they did at the fairgrounds this weekend, and we are not looking to have as big this first wedding. They invited 150 people. They've already had people say, we're not coming, we're out of state, or, you know, we're high risk, we're not coming. So they've already whittled it down to 70 on their own. They don't think out of the 70, I mean, you guys have done events, you invite 20 people, 5 show up. I mean, that's just the way it is. And you know, the brides are doing their own whittling without us telling them to do it. You know, we have facilities that we can do it inside or outside. And we also have the ability to change it to all outside if that's what we need to do. We also have the ability to clean and monitor and, you know, make it safe. And that's what we want to do. And, you know, we were completely booked for May. We had to reschedule all our weddings that were in May. We had to reschedule 2 from April. So we've already lost $10,000 out of this being shut down. And so it's huge. And if we're completely booked for June, we're completely booked for July, we're completely booked for August. You know, we want to do this safe, but we have to open. It's just the reality of it. Because we're going to go out of business if we can't afford that. You know, we just cannot afford to continue to lose our business. And, you know, we've only owned the place for 4 years. We've done wonders in 4 years. This is huge. And we have brides that they've been planning this for over a year. So, you know, let's do it safe. Let's, you know, we'll make it happen, whatever we have to do, whatever hoops we have to jump through. But we need to know. So number one, either we can cost share with the bride or we can rent. You know, and we've applied for the loans, we've applied for assistance. It's not here yet. So, I mean, plans that we come out with Sean, that's where the money's gonna go to do whatever we need to do to be open and be safe.
Thank you. Does that idea work for you guys to authorize
Yeah.
Sean and Teresa to work on a skeleton and apply it and get legal authorization or enforcement authorization?
Yep. I think that's the path we need to take it right now. See if we can do it.
Derek, we have email, right?
Yep.
One thing I'd like you to do is think of some of the activities that occur at a wedding where there's contact that we won't do, like the reception line, or what do they call it? Receiving line.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things, we're gonna have to kind of probably just say that can't happen, or we'll have to come up with some interesting way to make that.
Make it a drive-through.
Take it the reverse.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
what they did.
just like the
That's
parade.
what Dexter's did at their wedding. They just had like 20 people at the wedding, and then they just had a drive-through reception out through the parking lot of the church.
Yeah, so, you know,
So
those
then
kind
you
of
can-
where, because we don't want the bride and groom, I mean, that's gonna be
Right.
tricky, because they really need to see everyone, but we need to think about where people are going, traditionally have done things like that. And I'm gonna hope that you can help me with that. I mean, I've been to a ton of weddings because I have a very large family. I was a ring bearer like 5 times one summer in college. No.
And like you said, Sean, you know, each time you do this, you're gonna have more and more of a template people can play off of.
Yeah.
But boy, being at the start of this, we're just kind of inventing as we go. And each success will lead to the next success.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if Corey's really busy, I've learned a lot, being on the Lewis and Clark Incident Command, that these things like this do not have to be run through him unless they're like an order, or we're gonna shut something down or, do something like that. But just a plan for an event doesn't actually have to go through him. If he's like super busy, actually, public health can just do those plans and, if he's too busy to mess with that stuff, he doesn't really have to, so.
And that's good to know, because if there's going to be a delay of an additional week.
Yeah.
That's just, in some cases, not workable.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we need to know before a couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
Right, like I'm assuming that this June 5th wedding that we need to plan on stage, phase 1 guidelines.
Yeah.
And hope on, Friday before Memorial Day, the governor says, okay, we're now in phase 2, starting Tuesday, or whatever. And then by the end of the summer, the other brides will be working under phase 2 requirements. But if we start with the plan, okay, we all have to fit this phase 1 and we're gonna,
I think we're gonna see that a lot of what we do for phase 1 is just going to become somewhat of a new norm. Maybe not the strict social distancing, but a lot of the having hand sanitizer and washing of hands and those kind of things just being available will be pretty common, and people will be expecting it now.
Right.
So
I
So
don't
I-
think social distancing is going anywhere for a while, even phase 2. I don't see that going anywhere.
and we've already ordered, well, and see, this is the thing is, like, we've already ordered hand sanitizer dispensers, we've ordered stands for them. But they're 2-3 weeks out on this stuff because of the demand for it. I mean, you can't just go into Helena now and pick it up at the supply store
I
anymore.
can't even get it.
And so you have to plan ahead, and like if you're walking into Walmart, you're walking into Costco and you see Lysol wipes or Lysol spray, you gotta buy
Yeah,
it. Because you're limited at one. So businesses, I mean, you can't go in there and buy what you really need to run a business. So that makes it even harder. Or you gotta order offline and hope that it gets here. And so, we're all under stresses and challenges right now, but, we gotta do it safe. And we're all about that. Is give us a plan, let's get it going, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I have to order my thermometer probes through Amazon. Can't get them anywhere else. None of the suppliers are carrying, or they're out. Yeah, so. Thank God for Amazon. But they're price gouged too. They're twice as much as they were before.
So one thing and I said this at the last time, is, there may be things that you'll be required to do that you're not gonna be happy with enough. But we have to look at this from our tunnel vision perspective. But we've already talked, what my.
I'm not happy with any of it, but.
Yeah, exactly. But, there could be just some things that we have to say no to. But so far, we've always, in the last events, we were able to figure out a workaround that accomplished the same desire. So,
And we have big enough space that we can socially distance. I've had weddings for up to 400 people out there, and the lawn looked like it was half empty. So I mean, there's plenty of room out there that we can socially distance and keep people safe. Especially if we're limited to 50 people or under stage 2, 200 people. And we're very, very rarely do we have a 200 person wedding. So.
Do you have what you need from us, Sean and Teresa, to
I think so.
Kathleen,
Okay.
Comment from Kathy Cooper. Are you saying masks will be mandatory until phase 2?
For here, for the courthouse, or?
Cassie is at Big Bull.
Yes.
The manager from Big Bull.
Oh. Yes, I believe they will be.
Would you two recommend masks in phase 2, or is this a phase 1?
I
Do you
think
see this phase 1?
I think when we passed the mask portion of that, we said that we would revisit it at the adoption of phase 2. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. I think there will be a time when we can do some backing off, I think, but right now, I'm reluctant to do it. But, phase 2 would be a definite time when we're going to, but as 1.5 comes out, there may be some guidance that we haven't thought of. And there's other creative things that we talked about last time, like a bar putting plexiglass up so that the bartender that's standing behind the bar does not have to wear a mask, because what we're trying to do is protect the bartender from the public and the public from the bartender, because at the bar, they can't keep that 6-foot social distancing. And so maybe there's some relief that can be taken by adding something like that barrier so that they don't have to have their masks on only to go serve food. So, that could be an option as well.
But as far as the servers go, yes, and unless they lighten that up in phase 2, that's definitely going to continue until we have other guidance in phase 2, because, you just can't serve a meal without, and do social distancing. It's impossible, so. And we have no idea what's gonna happen in phase 2. We really don't. I told Sean this morning, people say, oh, you know what it is, you know when it's gonna be, and, no, I don't. I have no more idea than anybody else does. They really are not telling us anything. They don't. And that's why it's difficult, because we get it thrown in our laps and then we immediately have to have a plan. And that's hard, if they gave us some kind of, heads up or something that we could plan for, but we know as soon as the public knows, and then we have to do something about it immediately. So that's where it gets difficult.
Anybody have anything else? If not, we can adjourn at 3:43. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You guys need to go get a break.
Yeah.